Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the refirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everyone. This is the week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. I am your host, Tom Matt. Last week, Dr. Mitch was back. Dr. Mitch Kleonski, Dementia Prevention and Education. Amazing guy. Great interview. I mean, just all kinds of good tips. You guys got to check this out. I don't care. You know what? Dr. Mitch talked about some younger people tune us out when they say, oh, Alzheimer's, dementia. I don't have to worry about that. I'm 30. Well, you know what? Not only do you have parents, you have maybe grandparents, but you need to think about yourself too, because the behaviors that you're doing now could lead to some significant things in the future. So you want to listen to that just to kind of get a heads up on all that. All right, today, super excited, as usual. Dr. Debbie's in here. Dr. Debbie's back a little quicker than normal because ding, 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 drum roll. We've got to celebrate her new book, The Mentorship Edge. Been waiting to do this interview for a while now. She's like the podcast guest of the century on all these different podcasts. And I remember where she started, and I'm so thrilled for her. She's written books. She's spoken in front of people. Let me do her little bio here. It's about 27 years old. I mean, the bio, she founded I Am Age Institute a long time ago. Dr. Deborah Heiser has a PhD in applied developmental psychology. This bio is so old. I've got so many notes on here. We're not even going to go through most of it. But the thing is we got Joel, we got Aiden, we got Liam, and we got Edith. And we got Debbie. And from there, she has grown herself into the queen bee of not only helping students in psychology and all of this aging stuff, but she's morphed into now what's going to be a best-selling author. And I want to welcome back to the radio program for her 43rd visit, Dr. Deborah Heiser. All right, time to go. Let's sell some books.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 43 episodes. We were just talking about how Sandy said to me 14 years ago, you were my first podcast ever. It was radio. It was before you went podcast. And she said, don't worry, you'll get better.
We all go through it. That's the thing about refirement, everybody. You got to, that's that first step of going into the gym. And Deb was so nervous, and she's just saying she's a professional. It's like, right? But look how good you are now. It's like, I mean, we all start somewhere. And that's the whole thing, everybody. We all start somewhere. All right, so I'm so excited about this book. But first off, you know the drill. I mean, 43rd time here. What do we usually do in the first segment? Let me set this up this way. What do we usually do in the first segment, Deb?
Oh, we talk about the family.
There we go. Okay, she runs the show here. Why don't you talk about your family and how's everything going? And then we're going to get really excited about this table of contents and the Mentorship Edge, creating maximum impact through lateral and hierarchical mentoring. Ooh, baby, we're going to have fun with this one. But go ahead, talk about the group, the crew. How are the boys doing in college?
Oh, they love it. So they're 20 and 19. And, they were just like little kids when we first met. But they're enjoying life. They're both still baseball players. And, Liam not in school, but in outside leagues, and Aiden up on a club team at Syracuse. And
sweet. So
they're living life. They're living their best college life, which is nice.
Where are they going to school? Syracuse? It was one. Are they both going to the same school?
No, Gettysburg for the 20-year-old Liam and Syracuse for the 19-year-old Aiden.
So, okay. So me going into my higher ed hat here with me, my association with Michigan State University, I'm always curious as to why the boys chose those schools. And just we don't have to go into big depth, but, our young people making decisions like this, we need to get ready as a parent. But how did they make that decision?
It was interesting because Liam, our older one, sort of set the tone. And he said, I want to go to a school that has film, psychology, and baseball, because he started out playing baseball when he started school. And so that narrowed it. He said, I don't want to go anywhere too cold. And, he sort of gave us the parameters, and we thought, are there going to be any schools that have all of those things? And we found a decent number, and we looked at them. And then when he saw He actually was going to choose Chapman, and he probably would have been really happy there too.
Chapman in California?
Yeah.
Oh,
and he
that's
went
a
to
great
see it,
film school.
Loved it. And he was like, I want to live here. And he said it was the best burrito he ever ate in his life. So I do know that burritos have an impact on college choice. And
I've been to that school. You know, I've been to Orange, California many, many times. I've been by that campus. It's sweet.
I know. And so he was going to go there. And it turned out at the last minute, Gettysburg had a little bit more of what he wanted with regard to psychology or film. One of them, or maybe it was baseball. One of the three, it had more of what he wanted. So he ended up switching at the last minute, literally the final hour, and choosing Gettysburg. And he's been so happy there. It's a small school, and he wanted that.
Everybody, this is the Dr. Deborah Heiser, our guest today. We're talking about their sons and making a quick college decision here, just going through the family stuff. But this is the thing with our young people. You got to let them make their choices, and you kind of guide them, but you're still on pins and needles. It's like you're like, oh, he's going to go to Chapman College in Orange, California, and I live in Long Island. Could you pick a farther drive? What about Aiden? How did he pick Now Syracuse? That's big. Was it the program as well, or was it just the school?
It's a party school that, look, let's be realists here.
Right.
So he wanted a big school that had a lot of sports and that wasn't so big. Like Syracuse is a kind of medium-sized school. So he wanted that, but it wasn't his first choice. And he accepted at Pitt first. And, that's kind of similar in size and has good sports and all of that. And then he moved to Syracuse and, switched his decision and went to Syracuse. So both my kids wavered at the final moment for which school they were going to go to.
Okay. So, go finish your thought.
So he ended up having, they have a really good program there for political science. It's the Maxwell School. So he's in that. And he also gets to play club baseball there. So they don't have a baseball team at Syracuse, but Aiden's, a good pitcher. And so he was able to play there. So that was part of the decision. He did not want cold, but there he is. It's pretty darn cold there.
He didn't want cold, but he went to Syracuse.
Yeah.
Okay. So much for
you can't take everything they say.
Exactly.
It's like when somebody says, here's the exact person I want to date. And they end up with, they're like, I want tall, dark, and handsome. They end up with somebody's like short and bald, and we have to just go through the process.
You got to go through the process and the party stuff. And the reason I wanted to, kind of pick your brain on this thing is for our listeners out there. Help your children make good decisions with their programs. And if they're on the fence with any of this stuff, you guys, what Debbie just described is, Liam, he knew what he wanted with his program. He was, he checked this out, obviously. But if you're not sure, go in undeclared. There's no reason, because a lot of pressure comes on these 17, 18-year-olds, seniors in high school. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? How the hell do they know what they're going to do? They're just getting into college and meeting new friends. It's like, let them go in general ed, or even sometimes better, go to the JC, save some money and get your general ed stuff done. So that's good. I'm glad that they found, and he was honest. At least Aiden was honest enough to say, yeah, I want a big school or a medium-sized school that has some social life. I mean, you can say party or you can say /social, whatever. But having the sports and the facilities is really important. That's what I talked to a student today about, everybody. I'm going to take this through the break here because Debbie's here and we're going to come up on this. But I was talking to a student today, and you just gotta make good decisions when you're going about, and you got to visit the campuses. And that's what this young man I met at the gym today was saying. He visited all these really smart. They're all smart. He said, I went to all these different schools all over the place, Toledo, University of Michigan, all this. As soon as I got on campus, I knew. That is not the first time I've heard that from a student. And I have interviewed Anna Thomas, as a matter of fact, who I'm going to see next week. She's a junior now, I believe. When she was a freshman, we had a conversation. She's been on the show, and check it out. She talked about exactly the same thing, where she got on campus, and she just knew. All right, resetting again. The Mentorship Edge is our topic today with Dr. Debbie. Let's sell some books. The Mentorship Edge is her book, and I can't wait to share this with you all because it's very, very important. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. If I don't get this show rolling here, my guest is going to be like late. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show, everybody. I'm your host, Tom Matt. This segment of our radio program is sponsored so gratefully by Craig Stiles, Ameriprise Financial. Just got to save the date for his oldest daughter's wedding. I'm so excited for these. Oh, Jesus, so great. You know, it's so awesome. Michaela, we're coming, baby. We're going to see. I'm glad you sent that because we set our summer schedule now. Craig Stiles is the best. He is our Ameriprise financial advisor. He has control of all of our retirement zone savings. We're having our evaluation here in a couple of weeks. We did a show on that last year. And why the heck you have to have an evaluation for your financial stuff? Just make it work, okay? He explained why. And, you know, through his advice, life can be brilliant, as we like to say. Call Craig 1-800-528-1355 or local number 517-483-4893. Craig.stiles@ampf.com. Offices are located 2651 Coolidge Road, Suite 103, East Lansing, Michigan 48823. Stations that have carried us, do carry us, have carried us, whatever. I'm grateful to all of them. Then we come and go on radio, but we're still on the Michigan Talk Network. Thanks to Steve and Ivy Gruber. You guys are the bomb. Carried on WGIM 1240 AM in Lansing, Michigan, the flagship of the Michigan Talk Network. Michigan Talk Network's got like 50 stations. We're not on all of them, but we're on a bunch of them. WGHN 92.1 in Grand Haven carriers. They were the first to ever carry us on broadcast radio. WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids. We were on there for a long time as well. WKLQ 1490 Muskegon Whitehall. WIPV FM 94.5 in Mackinac City. And, of course, last but not least, Brad's crew over there at WKAR AM 870 News Talk at the Michigan State University Spartans, the flagship, and simulcast at 102.3 FM in East Lansing, Michigan. Thank you guys so much for carrying us all these years. And again, thanks to Craig Stiles for taking care of our money and creating Decidary Analytics, where we are making light of weighted decisions. Okay, today, Dr. Debbie's here. Dr. Debbie was on recently, and she's on quite often, actually, at least a few times a year. And this time is a special time because I'm so excited for her. She has done so much in her career, not only becoming one of the best podcast guests around and noted, and it's like, sweet, go for it. She's great. But we have her book, The Mentorship Edge, and we've been talking about this, and it's like, let's promote this book because this is very important. It's called The Mentorship Edge, Creating Maximum Impact Through Lateral and Hierarchical Mentoring. All right, Deb, so the first question I always give a author is the why. What is the why behind this book?
Because mentorship is so loosely talked about, and it's kind of been hijacked by the corporate world, where, in my opinion, it's almost like used to exploit employees. And I know that that's a strong way of stating it, but I started to, it's something we're built to do. It's something that's been talked about through the Bible and from hundreds of years of talking about it, but it's shifted and become something that isn't talked about in terms of our personal development and how we can utilize it to live happier lives. It's been talked about only as a way to get ahead in terms of a box to check. And it's been seen as transactional. The mentor has been a nameless, faceless individual that we're supposed to reach out and find, who's sort of going to like pull us up and make our lives so much better. And I realized I need to write a book about this because that's really not what mentorship is.
That's a great explanation for a why right there, everybody. So that's why we are going to talk about this, because mentorship should never be transactional. It should always be relational, always. And that's when I don't even like to say that I mentor students at MSU or older. I coach people. So my aspect is like, I'm going to get in your grill. A mentor is going to teach you a skill. Or something like that. So the coaching mentorship it's very similar, but I come at it from a little bit of a different perspective. So we are built to be a mentor, Deb. That was just chapter 1, and you just sort of talked about that. What are the 5 key components to mentoring?
So it's really simple. And I like to think of it like baking brownies. Anybody who enjoys a brownie like me, that there's all kinds of ingredients. If you leave out sugar, it'll look like brownies, but it sure won't taste like brownies. And mentorship is just like that. We need all the ingredients, or it's just not going to be right. So you said something about coaching. I'm going to talk about this in the definition because there are some subtleties between coaching and mentoring. And most of us don't know what it is. So people say, oh, I'm a coach and a mentor. I'm an advisor and a mentor. I'm a blah, 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 and a mentor, like a mentor is an add-on. But let me give you the definition. The first thing is we're built to mentor because we hit an emotional life stage in midlife where we're built to want to give back to others without expecting anything in return. And you and I have talked about this. This is called generativity.
Yep.
There's tons of research on this. There's a theorist, Erik Erikson, who's talked about it. It has been around. So, but nobody talks about it in the mainstream. It's a term that most people haven't heard. But what it really means is that we care for someone without expecting anything in return. And if you think about it, we spend all of our lives ingesting, right? Taking things in that we need in order to become experts and to understand ourselves and understand what we're doing in the world and how to interact. We need to get our jobs. And then it's like we're full. We're like a Tupperware that's exploding. Then we need to give it out to the world. And that keeps a little bit of us living on in others. That's what generativity is all about. So like a legacy. It's a way that we make meaning in our life. It's the way that we say, oh, I'm actually important. If you watched It's a Wonderful Life over the holiday season, you realize that he, had that epiphany. But we're built to have that sort of epiphany in midlife. And we say, gee, how can I take what's important to me and put it out into the world so that I remain relevant? So that's the first thing is generativity. Now, if you're confused about that, and you're not quite sure what that means, don't worry, you're going to just do it. We just do this. We don't even have to think about it. The next thing, though, is intrinsic motivation. And this is where we get different with coaching and mentoring and advising and mentoring. So if I am desiring of doing something and it comes from my heart, from inside, if I go read a book, nobody has to pay me to go read a book. Nobody has to pay me to go put together a puzzle to do a crossword or to work out or to do all the things that bring me happiness. No one has to pay me to play pickleball. I'll do it. I love it. So if I were to say to you, hey, Tom, would you like to go volunteer your time at a soup kitchen? You might say, yeah, sure, I would like that. It would make me feel good. You're giving out food and beverage to hungry, thirsty people. Now, if I say to you, hey, Tom, do you want to do that at Starbucks? Go volunteer time at Starbucks. You'd say, no, I'd feel like I'm being exploited. That's the difference. Coaches are paid, mentors volunteer their time.
And as a coach, I give my time away because you know what? People help me. We're fine. We're doing well. I mean, if some people who have the means who want to pay me, a lot of the people I deal with don't have the means. And so then that's fine.
And you might be mentoring. You might be mentoring them. We'll see at the end. When I give you all of the definition,
okay.
You'll see. You'll be able to determine.
See, and we'll talk about this when we come back because we got to get through the 5 key components. Dr. Debbie's here. We're talking about her book, The Mentorship Edge, which after you hear this episode or listen to this podcast, I hope you run out to this thing called Amazon and go click on the box and buy yourself a really good book. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to our Segment 2 sponsor, Craig Stiles of Ameriprise Financial. For more information on services provided by Craig, please visit ameripriseadvisors.com/Craig.Stiles or by calling 517-483-4893. You're tuned in to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to The Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Tom Matt. My guest today is Dr. Deborah Heiser. We are doing hopefully a deep dive on her book, The Mentorship Edge, and why this is so important. Mentorship Edge, creating maximum impact through lateral and hierarchical mentoring. Dr. Debbie has had the mentor group for a long, long, long time. And so she knows what she's talking about here. And we're going through the 5 key components of mentoring. We'll get right back to that in just a second. First, though, I want to thank Brock for sponsoring segment 3. Without Brock, without Craig, we can't do this stuff. We need good sponsors. They're good guys. They've been with me for a long time. I have some availability if somebody wants to jump in, but it's got to be a right fit. And I got a couple of people in mind, but we're doing just fine. So it's like, don't worry about that kind of stuff. But Brock, love this guy. Again, full disclosure, with both of our sponsors, we utilize their services. We have utilized their services. We know them personally. They're good friends. We trust them implicitly. You should trust them implicitly as well. Here's some numbers coming at you. 517-853-6408. That's the office over to the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. Or 517, this is important, 517-303-3262. I'm going to say it again because this is the one you want to text, leave a voicemail, whatever, because this is directly to Brock's pocket. 517-303-3262. Go online to kwsellingteam.com. Go to tommattshow.com. Our sponsors and our friends, some of our friends are at the bottom of that homepage. You can click right on through there and sell your home without hassles like we did. Mike Dedman, he was our buyer's agent. How you doing, Mikey? He was our buyer's agent for Little House Lansing, where we're recording this episode today. Brock was the man when he helped us sell Big House Holt, our forever home that we built from dirt, and never thought we'd leave that place. And we did. And so we couldn't have done it without Brock. And I just want to say thank you to Brock. Thank you to Craig. Thank you to all of our guests. But thank you to our listeners who support our sponsors, because without you guys going out there and listening to these podcasts with our guests, check them out. It's really important, and they can help you so much saving money. Nowadays, that's a big deal. So Dr. Debbie's here talking about her book, The Mentorship Edge. Awesome. So great. So excited. So we're in the chapter 2 kind of thing, 5 key components of mentoring. This might take some time to go through, but that's okay, because we're gonna bomb this. If we don't get through everything, we'll do another show and we'll pick it up where we left off. But I want to say that bringing up Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life, okay, whatever. I mean, that's for sure. But you're talking about the 5 key components, Debbie. You said the first 2. I didn't write down the first one. I have intrinsic motivation as number 2. But let's go through let's start off again with 1, 2, and then continue on, please.
So the first is generativity, and that's caring for someone without expecting anything in return. Number 2 is intrinsic motivation. If you're getting paid at work to be a mentor, you are not a mentor. You are something else. That does not devalue what you are doing. It's just a different title of what you're doing. So the third thing is a meaningful connection. You have to like the person that you are being mentored by and the person that you are mentoring. So a lot of times people will say, oh, I was matched up with somebody and I don't know, I don't like them, but I'm not going to tell anybody because I don't want to, risk something at my job or whatever. But you have to be meaningfully connected with the person and like them. The next one is that you have to trust the person. And this is key. A lot of people don't like to express vulnerability. And this is a tough thing because you have to be able to be vulnerable with your mentor. And your mentor has to be vulnerable with you. So an example of this is if you say, oh, I don't want that person to know that I don't know something. Let's pretend it's at work. I don't want to get a bad performance eval, or I don't want them not to, give me a promotion. You're not going to trust them. Likewise, if you're the mentor and you feel like, I'm going to go give this person, a lot of my time and energy and give them something that's very important to me, and they either don't value it or you feel like they're going to steal that idea and run away with it, that trust component is very important. And finally, there has to be a goal. So just chit-chatting is not mentoring. There needs to be a goal, and it can be a one-off goal, like I need help right now, or it can be I'm going to have a long-term relationship with this person, and that goal will shift and change over time. So those 5 components need to be there. And if it's missing one of them, it's not mentorship, something else, but it's not mentorship.
You know what? When you help people and you have friends and you have all of those 5 points of generativity, intrinsic motivation, meaningful connection, trust, goals, they're all dynamite. They're all greatness. So Debbie, you're going to say something about the difference between coaching and mentoring. What did you want to say about that?
So so I'm also a coach, right? I'm a psychologist, but I operate as coach because I look at, the things that we have to look forward to. And I'm a mentor, right? But there are 3 different hats that I wear. They're not all the same hat. So a lot of coaches that I meet will say, I'm a coach and a mentor. No, you're not. I say, do you get paid to the mentor? Yeah. No, you're not. You're not. And I'm very firm in that because we water these things down and then people think that mentoring doesn't work for them. Or they say, I'm not going to go. I did that once before, and I met with somebody and it didn't quite work out. Well, it didn't because they weren't your mentor. They were something else.
Got it. And that's good. That's a good thing about defining this stuff, everybody, because as we know, media, corporate, they love to they glom onto these terms, and then they just start to morph them, and then they lose their complete meaning of what they're meant to be. Okay, so number 3, what mentoring isn't, and you think you just talked about that, Deb, but reiterate that again, please. I mean, what it isn't.
It isn't your friend. It could be, but a friend is different from a mentor. Not all friends are mentors. It isn't networking. It's not a sponsor. It's not a coach. These are all things. It's not an advisor. It's not devaluing any of these things. These are great things. We should have these. And you know what? We should have all of these and a mentor. But as soon as we combine mentor with any of them or misdefine them, we miss out on a mentor. So that's what it isn't.
So why do we mentor? And why do you think, as the expert in the mentoring field now, because now that now that you're an authority on mentoring, right?
Yes, I am actually.
You are. And that's a compliment. That's a total compliment.
Yeah.
When you become, and this is for the listeners out there, when you write a book on a topic, that's why they call it an author. So now you are an authority on that topic that you just wrote about. So you are an authority on this. So I'm glad to have you talking about this, because now you are official. You always were official with me. But why do we mentor, Miss Mentor Lady?
So mentors are always the people that are not thought of. We always picture the mentee and the benefits that the mentee is going to get. And so there's always a nameless, faceless individual that's the mentor. And we can't quite picture who that is. But meanwhile, the mentor is the person that's driving it. And it's the person who is actually getting more than the mentee. Because if you're mentoring, you are getting the feeling that you have value. You are someone who has meaning in your life. Imagine if you feel like you have all this stuff, you're Daffy Duck sitting on your pile of riches and you're all alone. You need to feel that you're relevant, that, that your footprint mattered in the world. We don't need to be like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life to go through and find out that we have that mentoring supplies that. So we mentor because we want to have a legacy. We want to validate ourselves. We want to feel like we aren't just sucking up time in this world, and that our relationships are meaningful to us. It really balances us. And these examples of why we do this, in some cases, are, really listed in the Bible. They're our culture, our family, our values, our traditions. It's everything that matters to us in the world.
Sounds like a synopsis of why we do this radio program. And you're listening to Dr. Deborah Heiser. I'm going to carry this through the break here, because we do this radio program for exactly many of the reasons that Debbie's talking about this. And as I've told Sandy many times, we're going to keep doing this thing because it brings intrinsic value to me. And it took me a long time to realize that, Deb. But once it became clear in my thick head, it's like, oh, stop worrying so much about sponsors, money, and all this stuff, because what you're doing is good, and doing good is good. You listen to the Tom Matt Show. Dr. Debbie's here. The Mentorship Edge, her book. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. Get my guests laughing and during break here, and it's just like, you know what? Dr. Debbie's here with us, Dr. Deborah Heiser, talking about her book, The Mentorship Edge. And with her being on this program, like this is her 43rd visit. When you get in the batting cage with a guy like me, who's kind of hard to control, and you take on like 42 episodes, you're bound to get better. So reach out to people on LinkedIn if you've got a project or something, or you reach out to me. I mean, I put on different people all the time. If you need something that's going to be promoted, I'm happy to help. That's what we do. I do NIL stuff with students at Michigan State University, because you know what? Being on a radio program, having a podcast is valuable. And so, especially if it's good, like we are. And it's like, we only won 3 MABs in our career. So it's like, hey, whatever. Debbie, I'd like to get you to, we're going to give people plenty of time to find you and the book and everything. Contact info. How would you like people to find this book? You, speaking engagements, whatever. Go right ahead. If you got something for Joel, please ramble on.
So you can find the book, The Mentorship Edge, on Amazon and anywhere else you get books. And I just want to say it's on audio because a lot of people have switched formats for books and they prefer audio, and it's available. So, most people can get that for free or for the one click, if they have Audible or things like that. So it's available, Kindle, hardcover, everything, anywhere you want books. You can also find out about more of what I offer at deborahheiser.com. And you can also check out the Mentor Project at mentorproject.org.
See, she's got all these different hats going on. She's got coaching hat. She's got psychology hat. She's got the mentorship hat. Who was the actor who did the audio for your book?
Oh, I forgot her name. It's like Linda something or other. And
so a professional.
Yeah, it was a professional. So the publisher, Wiley, contracted with and you know what? She's good.
Yeah.
I listened to her, and at first I was like, oh, this is weird hearing somebody else's voice, but she's really good. She did it way better than I could have.
Oh, so. Yeah. That's why I wondered, because it's hard. I mean, it's hard I've done it myself. I did it a long time ago on one of my small books, and it's like, wow. And it's just like, yeah, good. So it's on Wiley. Wiley's huge. They want to sell books. We want you to buy this book because this book is really, really important. So Debbie, continue on with explaining the book a little bit, just to get everybody to go out there and click on it and buy it. Mentoring styles. Is that important for people to understand? You got a chapter in your book about it, so I'm assuming it is.
It's very important because most of us only think of mentorship as hierarchical, that you're getting something from somebody above you, and it's usually work or school related. And that's not really the most impactful, powerful form of mentorship. The most powerful is lateral mentoring. So if you are an entrepreneur, you don't have anybody above you to pull you up. You're the boss. You need to look to your left and to your right. If I'm a hardware engineer and I'm making some new innovation, I better go look maybe to a software engineer or somebody that does something else. That person's my mentor. They're going to be guiding me in how I can do things. And I may be guiding somebody else in something that I'm an expert in that's not my boss or not below me. So lateral mentoring is how we formed our country. All the founding fathers, they all had their different areas of expertise. The entire tech revolution was based on lateral mentoring. There's not a single person who did it themselves, did a big tech revolution by themselves. It was always done with a lateral mentor, at least. So any new innovation that we see is based on lateral mentoring. So I give those examples in the book, the different forms. Other forms that are hierarchical that we don't think about also are the cultural kinds of mentoring. Nobody cares in the end about, somebody and how much accounting mentoring they got. That doesn't transcend generation after generation. But what does is your holidays. Do you ever go in and you know what to expect for the holiday? You know what you're going to be eating. You know what the smells are going to be like. I, every Thanksgiving, make my Thanksgiving meal based on my grandmother's handwritten recipe cards. That is mentorship. Now, we take all that for granted. It is religion. How did religion get passed down for centuries? That's mentorship. Those are the important things to us. Our culture, how is it that you interact with others and how do you feel about yourself? That's your culture. That's what you want to pass down. So these forms of mentorship that, we don't realize are part of mentorship are the things that bring us the most joy and make us feel a part of the world. Because when you feel like, hey, grandmas are one of the biggest mentors we can look at. They're the ones who are like, here's the traditions this family's going to have. I'm putting this down and it's going for century to century based on, the religion, the tradition, the culture, the values. We think of people being mentors as having a degree, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. So in that chapter, I talk about all of that and the importance of looking at the different forms of mentorship: reverse, peer, lateral, hierarchical, all of those.
What about mentors in our lives? So you just mentioned all these different styles and all these different touch points that mentors could have with people. It's like, so mentors in our lives could be a minister, could be a rabbi, could be a priest, could be your neighbor next door. I mean, mentors in our lives, you probably got to, did you have stories that you wanted to share with that, or?
Let me give you a story about lateral mentorship at work.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. So imagine it's 2003 and Columbia Space Shuttle just re-enters the Earth's orbit and it disintegrates to the horror of everybody who's sitting there watching on television. Fast forward 2 years, 2005, and you're an astronaut in space and you're looking around and you're like, this is amazing. It's better than I ever thought it would be. And then you get a call from mission control and they're like, oh, whoops, we might have the same problem the other one had. You're the astronaut. You can't open the door and say, let me out of here. Well, Charlie Camarda was that astronaut on STS-114 that flew after Columbia and got that call from mission control. So did he feel like he could trust calling his boss at NASA? No, mission control just said, we're not sure. So he happened to bring a little black book with him of all the most important people in his life. And he called a lateral mentor, someone that he trusted beyond anybody else, to tell him if he needed to call his daughter at home and say, I'm not coming home, or if he was going to be able to solve that problem up there in space and get home safely. So he said, listen, buddy, can you give me a real outlook on this? I know you know the engineering of this entire thing better than anybody. Tell me, what do I do? And he said, you're going to need to do a spacewalk because I think that there's a tiny tile that's loose the same way that Columbia Space Shuttle had it. And if you can get somebody to do the spacewalk and fix it, you'll come home safely. So he called mission control and said, we got to do a spacewalk. They did it. They came home safely. That lateral mentor, who no one puts the lateral mentoring on that guy saved his life. He saved the crew's life. That was a big change. Now, that is an example in the book of what lateral mentoring looks like and how it can be a lifesaver, but it's somebody he knew. It was somebody in his little Rolodex. We all have a Rolodex of people, and we call upon them in time of need and when we're excited to share something. And that's one of the biggest examples that I can give.
Let me tell you guys, that was such a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Debbie. Dr. Deborah Heiser is our guest today, talking about her book, The Mentorship Edge, Creating Maximum Impact Through Lateral and Hierarchical Mentoring. I hope you guys, all of our listeners out there, decide to go pick up this book, because not only supporting Dr. Deborah, but it's a great topic and it's a great book. And it's like, we need to share more of this. And I'm going to tell you guys a quick story with me, because as I've talked about many times, I spent 9 years back in college in my 40s doing my undergrad for 6 years and my graduate work for 3. Okay, so those 9 years were very impactful in my life, but it was more the people that helped me get through, especially graduate school. And on my way home, after I'd finished my graduate degree, I was driving home from the university, because you guys all know I'm refired from the university, and so I worked out there every day, still out there every day, pretty much anyways. I had this epiphany, and I'm not bullcrapping. I mean, the sun was shining. I was driving home. The music's going. You know me, I listen to loud music all the time. And it's like all of a sudden it's just this feeling of like, you got to get back. And that's when things became clear to me. And this was before radio. I had just finished graduate school in 2009. We hadn't even done the first book. We hadn't done anything like that. But I knew at that point something needed to be done, because of all those people who helped my goofy butt to get through college and survive and support and love. And I'm so grateful, because don't think it's just like some woo-woo thing, because these moments come and then these moments go. Dr. Deborah's here. Been a good one. Still going to be a good one. The Mentorship Edge, her book, Creating Maximum Impact Through Lateral and Hierarchical Mentoring. This is the Tom Matt Show. We'll be right back.
Thank you again to our segment 4 sponsor, Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. I'm your host, Tom Matt. 14th season we've been doing this thing. Thousands of episodes, thousands of interviews, and 43rd interview with my guest today, Dr. Deborah Heiser. She's the bomb. Mentorship Edge is her book, Creating Maximum Impact Through Lateral and Hierarchical Mentoring. We've been talking about getting this show together for a long time. It took Debbie a long time to build this. Deb, go ahead and do the plug.
Sure. So you can find the book at any place where you buy books, and it's on audiobook for those of you who like to listen. If you like to drive in your car, get the audiobook. It's free in most places or very, very low price. You can also reach me at deborahheiser.com and find out more about what I do, and check out the Mentor Project, mentorproject.org.
What I'm going to do, everybody, because I really love the Whisper Sync, and I'm hoping that that's been enabled for this book, because I am going to get that on my iPad, and I love the Whisper Sync. And so when you have an Audible on the book, typically most of the time, this Whisper Sync works. And here's the thing, everybody, spend the extra bucks and get both, because if you've never experienced Whisper Sync on Amazon and reading a book, it's the best. I swear to you, I've done it. I don't even know, hundreds. I'm not kidding you, hundreds of times with audio. But you're reading the book as it's, and you can listen to it. You do listen to it. Get that, okay? Debbie, we've talked about a lot of things here, and I want to make sure that I get back to all of our points here. We want to talk about the future of mentoring, because it's like, okay, you got this really cool thing going on. Before we get into that future of mentoring, though, I almost forgot. I wanted to kind of just pick your brain just for a few seconds on, you've done the mentor group for a long time. And so building this whole kind of thought process, because you've done a TED Talk, you've done lots of things, you and I together, we like doing all these little different new experiences. But
yeah,
tell everybody how long the mentor group's been going on, and then how long did it take you to kind of formalize and get all that put together and pull it together?
So it's been around informally. It was around from 2017 to 2019. Where we had a group of people who were actually working together, and we made it an actual company in 2019. So it's more than 5 years old officially. And I don't know, like more than 7 years old unofficially. Prior to that, I was talking about mentorship all over, and I was like the nut that was walking around, talking about mentoring, and people are like, who cares? Here she comes again. And now it's like everybody's talking about mentoring.
They're running away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here he comes again. Can't shut this guy up. I know that feeling.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That was me.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So the future of mentoring. And I know the books take a long time. I mean, what was it? A few years, but a couple of years. By the time you figured out and you talked to Joel, because Joel's written several books.
Yeah.
Was it a couple of years once you finally put the final decision in your mind?
No, I'll tell you, it went so fast. Because I was asked by the publisher to publish the book a year before I decided to. I felt like I didn't have the right contract in place and everything the way I wanted it. And it wasn't formalized the way that I wanted it. So a year later, they gave the green light and everything was just how I wanted it. It only took me 3.5 months to write the book after that. It was in me, like ready to just be regurgitated out. I sat, and I'm not joking with you, it was like it was channeled onto the like onto the thing. And I was just like, typing like the wind.
When you're motivated and you're inspired and you get into flow like this, everybody, it is just the most amazing thing that can ever happen. And this is why, especially when you're reaching into your middle living years, not middle age, middle living, superior seniors. Remember those two terms I've been talking about for a long, long, long time? When you're in your middle living years, you're going to start to understand why generativity really makes a difference. So generativity is a good segue into the future of mentoring, because we're in there, you're getting towards the end of the chapters of the book. Tie it together with the future of mentoring. I mean, do we need to make sure everybody knows the 5 key components, or what do you think, Beb? What is the future of mentoring?
So the future of mentoring is those 5 components never go away. Again, generativity, intrinsic motivation, meaningful connections, trust, and a goal, right? But here's where it changes. We are in a changing, evolving world. And we now have the internet, we have AI, we have all these things that people are engaged in. And we have a world where we're more connected than we ever were before. And one of the silver linings of, say, COVID, that period of time, is that we weren't on Zoom the way we are now, or all of the other platforms in the same capacity that we are now. That allows for mentorship in many different ways from people around the world. And so people are getting connected in new ways. But there's been a big spark of podcasting and things that have happened. And you were right there. Podcasting is a form of modern mentorship. The person has something like you did. You said, I need to give back, right? And 14 years ago, when you started on the radio show, you were like, I need to do this. You were working. This was your other thing that you did. Now, there were so many people that were meaningfully connected to your story. Is it as solid in the same way, because you don't know every single person? It's a little weaker version, but it's still mentorship. And it's a modern form of that. So as we get more involved in this kind of interacting with others, we're going to see mentorship look differently. So there's an example of AI where Marshall Goldsmith, who's a coach, mentors other coaches. He has like an AI bot of himself that gives out mentoring. So the person can type something in or ask this bot that, looks like Marshall, and he will give from his own words that he's had in there the advice back. And so that's another form of modern mentorship. They've done that with Holocaust, people who'd survived the Holocaust, and they have like sort of holographic versions of people. This is how modern mentoring is going to look. It's going to have a tech aspect to it.
Hologram. It's like Star Trek, everybody. Remember how we used to go to the holodeck? You'd go to the holodeck and you could go see Napoleon or somebody. That stuff is real. I mean, it is not 1960s broadcast TV. Debbie, we're gonna come up on the end of the show here, and we got about 4 minutes to go. But I wanted to get the last point and then your takeaway: creating the culture through mentorship in corporations, in teams, in all kinds of different aspects. How do we encourage this?
I tell people to look to your left and look to your right. You're a mentor to someone, or someone is a mentor to you everywhere. That could be a grandma. That could be, a friend. That could be like Charlie had a friend. It's whoever we know, somebody every person knows something you don't know. That's a potential for a mentor. And it may not be that it's at that very moment that you need that mentorship, but it'll pop up at some point, I guarantee you. So everybody's a potential mentor. Engage with everyone and as many people as you can. You can never have too many mentors. And the biggest thing I can say is that the lateral mentoring is the key to your personal and work productive, excellence that you're going to come across.
Engage with everyone. I love that. I wrote that down here. Got explanation points around it, because the whole point of all of what we're doing, everybody, is just communicating. And here's another one I'm going to add in before we get Deb's takeaway, is like, our young people don't have the social skills that we just grew up with, because they grew up in a different format with their, not only did they have to deal with COVID, don't forget about that, taking those 2 years away from our young people and older people as well, but the kids really got affected. But the kids really need us just to talk to them, because their interpersonal skills are lacking. That's why I've been doing my lunches at the university for years and years and years, wrote the Generation Us book. And now we're in a whole different stage now where it's just continued to morph and grow, and people want to have lunch just to talk and have me buy them lunch. It's all fine. It's great. It's great. Okay, so what's the call to action? What's the takeaway here? You got a minute and a half to give me the takeaway. Go for it there, Dr. Deb.
Everyone is a mentor and everyone is a mentee. And the more you engage with others, the more happiness you're going to have in your life, the more fulfillment, and the more you're going to progress in whatever your goal is. So again, look to your left and look to your right and get out there and mentor.
That's a quick, easy takeaway. And I thought I'd have more from you on that one. I mean, it's like the call to action, but that's true, Deb, because especially for so you've got all of this for the growing, and this is messages for the growing older population out there, the superior seniors and or the middle living people. Making your life more robust, especially as you're growing older, superior seniors, talking to these young people will make your life better. There will be some kind of transfer, and I guarantee you that you will learn something from those young people, and don't be afraid to reach out to them, because I think we have this invisible wall between generations where it's like, they're too smart, I can't talk to them. And the young people are like, they're too old, I can't talk to them. And listen, take it from a guy who's probably one of the oldest guys at that gym every 4 days a week over there at Michigan State. They love talking to us. You'll know. If they don't make eye contact, move on, because there's more of them out there. There are so many fish out there, so many people, so many young people, so many older people that we can help with this topic. The Mentorship Edge is the book you need to get, okay? Creating maximum impact through lateral and hierarchical mentoring. Debbie, thank you so much for doing this. Everything you've always done for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love being on your show. Thank you for having me again.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You know you're part of the family. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must share your love first. You got to love yourself first, everybody. Thanks to Deb, Sandy, Craig, Brock. We'll talk to everybody next week, and have a great week, everybody. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. And lastly, thank you to Mitch Anderson and Vanessa, our production team. Thank you so much. We are out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music and the source of light and power by the Ark of All.